Welcome to Blockchain Security Series, the podcast where the future of Web3 security unfolds. Presented by pablito.eth.
Hello and welcome. I am Pablo Sabbatella, your guide through the intricate and evolving world of blockchain security. Each episode we dive deep into the heart of Web3, bringing you face-to-face with the pioneers and key players shaping the blockchain security ecosystem. Powered by Opsek, Web3 Operational Security.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Blockchain Security Series, episode 16. Today we have a guest, friend of mine too, Matt Aereal, co-founder at the Red Guild. How are you, Matt?
Fine, you?
Excellent.
I already started laughing, sorry.
That's
I don't know.
That's the best way to start, right? We are here in Buenos Aires. Now in Buenos Aires we have Aleph, a pop-up city, where lots of crypto startups and companies are working from the same place, a nice experiment. So we have the opportunity to do this in real life, right?
In real life. Is this a real life or is just fantasy?
It is.
Can I sing?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You're allowed to sing.
Okay, perfect.
So, Matt, you're a hacker, a producer. You're hacking your way into consciousness. You're a security journalist.
I actually started calling myself a security nomad.
Nice.
Starting from a few days ago.
I like that. So I want to start by you telling us, how did you start in cybersecurity?
I think one of my very first interests in security specifically, because I was already keen of information technology and computers since I was a kid, in another fields as well, like science and chemistry and whatever. But do you know Argentum Online? The game?
The game?
Well, for the people that actually don't know Argentum Online, or I don't know how to actually say it in English, it's the first MMOPRG, I'm saying it correctly? Well, the first massive multiplayer online role-playing game by an Argentinian. And I think the term used right now is catfished. I was 13 years old. I was playing at a cyber, of course. It was like the year 2000 or around so. And I was playing there this game with a bunch of friends, of course, online. And then I developed this relationship with, I don't know, I thought it was a girl. And we actually got along very well and do training together, level up and whatever, you know. And then when we switched to the Messenger, I think I was using like the Windows Messenger 4.0 or a version prior to that. And then she suggested I should download a pack of emojis, emoticons at that time.
Yeah.
And the first thing that happened was like I was seeing some numbers appear on the screen, and what I read next was someone saying in Spanish, "Thank you for your IP address." And I was like, "What's an IP address? What the fuck is going on?" And then the disk tray started to open and close, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is not good." And then my session, I got logged out of my session and got locked out of my account. Then I tried to recover it, and I did for the first time social engineering without knowing what was social engineering, because I didn't modify the status of my messenger, and I talked to everybody on my list, which weren't my actual real contacts, saying, "Hey, I'm still here. What more? What a keto," or something like that, like portraying or impersonating the attacker. And someone actually replied saying, "Oh, you're such an idiot, Agustin." I still don't know till this date who hosting And then I got to know a little bit more about what happened, and then I got really curious. And I was already being very curious in these terms of security. And then I started to learn by myself, and one thing took to another.
We could say that you were lucky to be hacked very, very early.
Yeah,
Something similar happened to me. So
Really?
Yeah. We will not say who, but one of the Ekoparty founders social engineered me when I had a hacking and security website. Yeah, and that was, I think that they hacked me like 2 times. But I was very young, so you learn how you feel the thing of, oh, I have been hacked. This is not right.
No, it was horrible.
It's horrible. So you get that feeling from very early. I think that's very good, and you also start getting interested into that because you want to do that.
Yeah. Then we did we started this group that were we were a lot of script kiddies by that time. I think it was then 2006, and I actually got in contact with many of them, and afterwards we created a team because we were dosing servers and doing a lot of stuff that you do when you're a script kitty.
For the people who don't know, what's a script kiddie?
Script kiddie basically is someone that doesn't actually know shit and runs things made by others. This is my own definition, of course.
Yeah, perfect.
And you don't really dimension the impact of the things that you may be doing, and you don't actually understand what you're doing. Actually, do you remember this website, Mealworm?
Yeah.
The exploits that were there, that we were using at that time, weren't actually functional. You had to modify them. So we had to learn to code, and after a certain period of time, we stopped being script kiddies, and ended up actually knowing how to code and then training and whatever. But this group formed because of the cheats that we made for this game, and so we created some sort of community that still exists today, which today is called MFSec. It actually comes, many things that it comes from Matthias' friends, but it actually comes from Mindfact, because we were like really troubled when we were kiddos. We were all under a lot of pills. Like we had obsessive disorders, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. We were under, anxiolytics, Prozac. We were taking a shit ton of medications, and actually that was the only thing that bonded us together, besides the interest in cybersecurity. And then we stopped doing stupid stuff because we noticed, thanks to the Ekoparty, I know we are going to talk about in a minute, we realized we could get paid for doing what we were doing just as a hobby or just out of curiosity. And nowadays everybody on that group are really, most of the smartest people that I have ever met, and they all have their own company, and I think of them as very successful persons, and I'm really glad to still have them in my life.
So now you can do it for fun and profit.
Yeah. And helping people avoid having the feeling that we felt, because many of us were hacked because of, just running stuff from others. Really, really, really stupid. But we learned a lot at a very fast pace.
Nice. I have a question, and then we'll get back to Ekoparty.
Sure.
What do you mean when we started? You present yourself as a producer too, right? What do you mean when you say that you're a producer?
Well, the thing is that at some point in my life, I was doing a thesis. I actually did 3 theses, but I only delivered 1. And my first thesis was working with the Simulation and Computer Center of UVA in Buenos Aires. And what happened was that I took on a very hard task for the thesis, which was a co-joint work with the CERN. And it was about simulating discrete events on a simulator about a module on the Large Hadron Collider.
Okay.
Only a small number of people know about this. But I got burned out because I was working for like almost an entire year, and I didn't see how I was going to finish it. And at that time, I started to participate in musical shows. I was doing musical comedy as well. And as part of the outcome of getting burnt, what I did was I quit everything and I told my parents I wanted to be a photographer. And they were like, fuck no. I was like, please, just, I know I have some savings, just flow with this. I promise I'm going to get healthier again, and I'm going to get back. But I just need you to trust me. So it was really hard for them to trust me, but they did. So I'm really grateful. It's such a privilege to be in that situation. So I know I'm privileged. I am grateful for it. But then I started working as a photographer. Actually, Federica.
Yeah.
He one day sent me a link to a camera on Mercado Libre. It was being auctioned, so I put like bet on it, and I got it. And it was the first analog camera that I had in my life. And he didn't say anything else. So I started learning how to use it. I started learning how to use digital cameras, and then I started working as a photographer. And then I started producing events because I already had experience with the musical comedy and theaters, etc. One thing took to another, and then I realized that I was having like technical knowledge, experience on production, and I started producing small conferences and some festivals besides music shows. And it was like a perfect role for me to work at the Ekoparty at some time. But we can talk about the Ekoparty specifically if you want, because it's nice. like a topic on itself.
So you're an artist, and
a frustrated artist.
Okay, I think you're an artist.
And today I don't have makeup. For the people that are actually seeing this, today I don't have makeup, but I do makeup every day.
I saw a phrase in a movie that says something like the hackers are the artists of the 21st century or something like that. But I think that to be a hacker, it's an art, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, it's a form of expression.
Totally.
Using technology to accomplish it, but I can understand that for others it's not that way. It may be just a job, but actually being a hacker for me, it's more like a philosophy. I mean, I don't have to be a great one. I just have to be a hacker because I'm motivated by curiosity.
Nice, yeah. And you also studied a bit of magic too.
Yeah, I was
like me.
Yeah, you remember. There was a time that I studied magic, of course, because I'm such a nerd. And what happened was like, and this is one of the reasons of why I say that I'm a frustrated artist, because instead of doing the things myself, I realized that I had more power in me helping others thrive rather than doing it by myself. So I was a manager for a music producer, a few artists, and a magician.
Nice.
Jean Bastien. He's a local artist, nice. A friend of mine. If he's listening to this, hi Sean. But yeah. There was a phrase that was like, I don't know if I'm going to say it properly. It was something that said, or among the lines like, I decided not to be a star, but to push others to be closer to the stars. I don't know. It's a very known.
I like it.
It's a very known phrase, but that phrase, not the one that I just said, like actual phrase, really comforted me, saying, okay, so I have the resources to help others thrive, and I may consider myself an artist working my way through others. So this is what I've been doing basically.
Yeah, and I also think that going back to magic, it relates a lot to hacking and social engineering and misdirection, deception, making someone like focus on something when they should be seeing another thing. Like I think it has many parallelisms.
Well, actually, the first thing that was, I think, on the big screen was "Now You See Me."
Yeah,
that actually makes both stuff.
Yeah,
both topics.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's like doing an exploit is like magic. It's like, I know you did something. I don't know how you did it, but it's fucking amazing that you just popped a calc on that shit. Like like I don't know, like the Pony Awards. It's like that's like magic to me. I mean, I may understand some parts, but at that moment where you don't actually know how they did it, what they did to exploit it, it's like magic. That's magic.
Yeah, I agree. So now let's go back to your beginnings. Ekoparty. What's Ekoparty? How did it change your?
I can tell you what Ekoparty means to me. Which
Perfect.
It's like have you ever felt like really comfortable at a relative's house, or that was what the Connex made me feel like
at
being
home.
Yeah, at home. Like I don't feel the same for the SEC, the new venue, because I'm not like really familiarized with it inside the Ekoparty, but since the second Ekoparty, I think I've never missed one until the 17th, which is the year that I quit. But for the people who don't know, it's the most important security conference in Latin America, and it's where I actually grew up. That was like college for me, college and kind of university. I actually had my first job there. Fedeka and Fran Amato invited me to work. Actually, chronologically, what happened was like this. Remember that I told you that we'd have like this group of script kiddies?
Yeah.
When we were transitioning to actually being decent hackers or professionals, I took everybody to their first Ekoparty. We were just a few. Actually, a friend of ours had only like 13 years old at that time, so I was his tutor. But it all started because I was the only one that knew English at that moment, and I was kind of like the leader of the group, and I used to translate stuff for some of the members. And there was something that said from Merlo, he alerted the world or something like that, and it was they did like an exploit on a research from Dan Kaminsky on DNS, and I think Fran and Fedeka both from Infobyte, actually both are founders among others of the Ekoparty, and I sent a message to them in English. And after receiving the message, Fran talked to me on chat and said, "¿Y si hablamos mejor en español? What if we talk in Spanish? It would be better." I was like, "Oh shit, you speak Spanish? Yeah, I'm from Merlo. What were you expecting?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. So you want to come to the Ekoparty?" Actually, my mother thought about that article of something that I might be interested in. So thank you, mother. And then he invited us. We went to our first Ekoparty there, or second, I don't know. It was on the Centro Cultural Borges, and it was like a life-changing experience, because from that moment on, we never missed almost any Ekoparty, at least myself. And then I started working at the Ekoparty, like started volunteering, started coordinating the the contents, coordinating the committee for the selection of the talks, and then working as an ops manager and head of content or whatever. I don't know what were the actual titles for that. I just did mainly contents and some operational stuff. It was great, but the pandemic struck, and it was really hard for me because I had quit at that moment a lot of stuff to be in Ekoparty doing things in the physical realm, and I had to accept that for an undetermined period of time I would have to do virtual stuff, and it was like, wow, really draining until I couldn't take it anymore, and then I had to go. Also for other reasons, because I really wanted to go back to doing technical stuff, and there I was just coordinating and helping others to coordinate or execute technical stuff, but I was like really missing, and there was no place for me to do it inside Ekoparty on the role that I have. But yes, of course, like someone providing context to Ekoparty, which I'm hoping to be able to do like in the following years now that I'm a little bit more organized.
Nice. And how from Ekoparty to the Red Guild today, where you're focused today, how did you get into blockchain and then created the Red Guild, and what's exactly the Red Guild?
Well, of course, I have a story where at the point of my life where some friend went to my house with a lot of graphic cards and said, we should start mining. And it was like 2010 or 9. I was like, no shit, this is a scam.
Very, very early.
Yeah,
very early.
No, but I'm telling you how I did not.
Yeah. But I mean, it was very early.
And then started mining. I don't know. I thought they were getting scammed, and I actually didn't spend like a minute reading the white paper. But then most of my friends started working on blockchain. It was, I think, the year 2017. And it was like a very important year in my life because I was like dealing with some, I would call them like mental health issues, but mainly anxiety and a little bit of depression because of many things, particularly for a romantic relationship and things that weren't handled very well. And I decided I wanted to change a lot of things, and that I wanted to work closer with this group of friends. And many of them like have like really amazing companies today in the crypto space, and many of them have created amazing products and are really well known, or how people would call them OGs. And I was like, hey, they're having fun, they're working, they're doing actual stuff that people like. Why don't I switch careers?
Yeah.
And then I started studying by myself, like reading, I don't know, like the white paper, Bitcoin white paper, the yellow paper, the Stanford University courses. Started reading about Solidity. And then I heard about Ethereum Buenos Aires. Then it was 2018.
Yeah.
And they were doing their first hackathon, which I didn't know what it was about. And I sent an email saying, I want to help organize. I don't want to hack. And they were like, no, shit, you have like a very technical profile. You should hack. No. I feel more comfortable like producing, because that was like what I was doing at that time. And I went there. I offered myself as a coordinator of volunteers, and then I met a lot of people in the crypto world, and that's how I'd say it started. Afterwards, I got offered by Zeppelin, at the time they were called Zeppelin, to work as a contractor on the Solidity compiler audit. So we were auditing the Solidity compiler with a bunch of friends. It was amazing. Then
One of the first audits that they did. Right?
I think it was the second one. I think Juliano and Sergio made the first one with CoinSpec, if I'm recalling correctly. And then we did the second one. And it was an amazing experience. I got to know a lot of people, like Ale Santander, Leo Arias. Leo now works at Flashbots. Ale is Ethernaut. And many people more. And then I met Tincho there, Tincho Batemarco. And it was really, really nice because, I mean, the time that I worked at Zeppelin was really brief inside the company as a contractor, but I really I don't want to say took advantage, but I really cherished the relationships that I have built at that time, and they lasted till today, 6 years, 7 years, I don't know. Afterwards, I quit working on the crypto space altogether, and that's when I went to work for the Ekoparty specifically as a company, because before it was just a conference once a year, but then in 2019 it was starting to be a company.
So you came back.
Okay. Yeah. I came back. No, I mean, what I told you about the pandemic was 2020. But I returned to the Ekoparty in not only creating contents or coordinating contents once a year, but the whole year. And I didn't lose touch specifically with Tincho because I was asking him contents for the Ekoparty. So at least I had an excuse to talk to him about stuff. He also did a training on smart contracts hacking for the Ekoparty as well. And what happened was that when I quit the Ekoparty on 2022, I think, or 2022, I told him, I really want to work with you. So I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I just quit Zeppelin. I'm like, okay, we're both free. So let's see what we both want to do. And we were really compatible in thinking about education and the things that were missing in the blockchain space, particularly in the Ethereum ecosystem. And we started doing contents by ourselves, but always being in contact to each other. And then he told me about his idea of like a group of security researchers. Then the Red Guild name came from, I think Manu Arauz was one of the people that proposed the actual name. And then when we started exploring, I think that the name was really good, because I like the red pill lore.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are a lot of terms associated with that. But I think the suggestion came because of the red team. But nowadays, red team, it's not the most efficient take. Everything pivoted to purple team nowadays, not only to be on the offense. Actually, we have changed many things from the offensive perspective to the defendant, the recover funds instead of stealing funds, trying to shift the mindset of people in order to not think like criminals.
And why did you decide to create a guild, and what's a guild for you and not a company?
Well, actually guilds in the past were for profit, but we are not. We work as a non-profit because we think that there's space to complement the profit-driven schemes that they are currently on the ecosystem, and the way that we do so is being a group of security researchers with a lot of freedom to do so. So we take things really differently. Even our internal dynamics are like really different. I don't know if you want me to dig deeper into that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, for example, I don't know if I think we're the only ones that are full-time dedicated security researchers doing public goods. At least to my extent, to what I actually know. And that's what we have been told, so at least on the Ethereum ecosystem. So what we do is we like to have fun and we like to educate through things that are more interactive or in a more fun way. So we have things like the Monero DeFi, which was actually created before the Red Guild, but now it's part of the Red Guild. And I was really keen of the Monero DeFi. I was always recommending it because it closes the gap where you know enough to kind of start auditing, but not at the same time, because you really need to prove yourself or do challenges that are more like real exploits, and actually doing an audit by yourself. So it kind of closes that gap or starts closing that gap. Then you have today you have things like Solidit, where you actually can see others' reports and learn from that. And we like to, I think we are really good at digesting very hard and technical information to a point where everybody can understand us. And in terms of comparison between contests, bug bounties, or the classical security firms, is that contests tend to be like a roulette, something really, like the chances that you get really good auditors depends on the context and depends on where you put those dates and the energy that those hackers have at that time. And in terms of bug bounty, and also in contests, it's like you get so, I say, critical driven, like in terms of severity. It's like you want to get paid more because that's what you're doing. If not, you would just do public goods and not participate on that. You can do that like the entire year. And it really conditions the way that you think and you work for. And I've heard cases of people that they would just report only a critical on an attack vector or a bug that could be exploited in different forms, because they felt that if they were reporting a critical or maybe a medium, they would get the entire report or the entire scope for that exploit lowered to a medium. So they leave things out of the equation in order not to risk it. And it's like, okay, it's fair because it's like how that works, and many people don't want to actually risk anything, and they just go for criticals, for example. And we can talk about this more, and then you have security firms which actually demand a shit ton of money, because I don't see many of them doing public goods. And sometimes it's what the client can pay, the customers can pay. What happens is like you already know how many exploits were done or things that were out of scope but were audited, and then just a patch or something happened. And then, so all these little things that I'm saying that kind of live outside of these schemes, we try to cover them.
Perfect.
So when you do an audit, you normally like fix on a commit, for example, of a project, and then you do it there, because if it's constantly changing, it's like a pain in the ass, actually. Specifically because you have like short periods of time windows where you have to do this.
Yeah. So they usually do like a code freeze and they audit.
Yeah.
That's a usual thing.
Yeah. At least until 2 years ago. And I've been talking to people and they still manage things that way. And what happens is like, if the project continues working on stuff and maybe on our type of branches, or they push an update after the audit, not a recheck, just a different thing. It's like having the bureaucracy to start again, trying to charge for that and get. Sometimes you don't have availability. Like I've been approached by big companies saying, hey, do you have availability? Because I have reached this and this and this and these other companies and they are all booked and I need this for yesterday. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And what we do is something we call spot checks, where you...
Spot checks.
Yeah, we name it spot checks. I don't know, it's a term that we invented between... It's like we want to... I don't know, we did it with ENS at our beginnings. Like the criteria works as the following. We understand what protocols, based on feedback of the community and other organizations, would be catastrophic if something were to happen to them. And despite them being audited or despite them being under a contest or having a bounty. This is where we actually specialize in, because if any of those criteria are met, it wouldn't be that interesting for people to pay attention to the code base, unless you actually want to exploit it and steal the funds as a cyber criminal.
Those two criteria are, you said?
We don't care if it's under a contest, or if it was already audited.
Perfect.
How many protocols were exploited and they were audited? Because it's not that, you're audited and then you're like free of bugs or you can be exploited. No, it's going to happen because you just pay for a company to put an amount of
time.
Yeah, time and a pair of eyes, and they're all humans, and AI right now is not gonna cut it at all. And the spot check is like we pick a project and we don't care if they're going to push updates or they're creating a separate branch or they're working on a default branch, or it's like we report everything that we see and we think it's valuable, and we do it as much time as we think we need or might need in order to understand the code base. And then afterwards we try to share our insights. I think one of our best examples was ENS. We actually found a bug and got a bounty, but we weren't actually expecting that.
Nice.
And another thing that we do is we go into communities. Instead of creating a community of our own, we try to augment other communities. Like, I don't know, Web3S, like Web3 Español. Is one, builders, specifically from conferences, where actually we are in the context of Aleph.
Yep.
I'm organizing a security day on the 30th. I have been organizing workshops at like the previous week. It was dApps and Solidity week. It was also coordinated by the Red Guild and a few volunteers, and then. Well, we gave a talk together at Uruguay, and I was also a mentor there. And Ethereum Argentina as well, like judging, mentoring, a workshop and a talk. So what we do is we try to add value to whatever is going on, because right now we don't want to do things on our own. We want to go and add value to the things that are currently happening. Specifically, we took interest in Latin America because there are a lot of great and talented profiles here in Latin America, specifically in Argentina and some other surrounding countries. and it's like, I don't know, I think it's easier for us because of the culture. But we have been doing this worldwide. Like we have an impact booth at DevCon at the end of the year. We are also working with the Security Alliance. We are doing, I think, a workshop or a talk at the DeFi Security Summer. We did last year. We spoke at ETH Barcelona. So yeah, in a summary, we try to add value to all the events that are happening and do it in a fun way. Yeah. Well, what we did in Ethereum Argentina is something I want to start doing more, which was I wrote like a play, like a script between two friends, and I made him rehearse it because I'm really structured when it comes to content, and I think it's online right now. It's in Spanish. I don't know if the captions are going to grab it correctly or it's going to be translated correctly. But I think it's an interesting approach that I'm going to take more and more and more and more until I make, I think, a musical comedy out of exploits topics.
That's nice. So you just talked a bit about SEAL, right?
Yeah.
Security Alliance. So what's the Security Alliance? What does it mean to you? And how are you related to it?
Well, the Security Alliance is a group of security professionals that cover blockchain-wide. I mean, at the Red Guild, we are mainly focused on Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem, L2s, and our objective is to be the most recognized organization doing public goods as a non-profit in the ecosystem. But SEAL, it's kind of similar at some point, but it's really different at the same time. It's more focused blockchain-wide, and most of them, I would say the big majority of the people that's working there are volunteers, and they are like, I don't know, the head of security of like Ethereum Foundation, Uniswap, Polygon, Paradigm, and well, and then there's us, right? Yeah. But it's like it's been directed by some Samsung.
Yeah.
She said Samsung. I say Samsung.
Samsung, yeah.
Samsung. I don't know if it's pronounced like that. I just call him Sam. And I really enjoy working there. Like it's at first when I started with Tincho on the Red Guild, I was like, we're like so alone. Like I feel like we're so alone. And when SEAL started or was created, I was like, okay, there's a bit of hope because we are not the only ones. And it was meant to happen that we are working like very, 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 very close. I actually leading one of the initiatives, and I'm having a great time. It's like a very incredible opportunity to be working along many, many, many incredible people, smartest people of the ecosystem. And there are a lot of initiatives at SEAL. It's like it's like it tries to be, and I think it will get there, like a social coordination layer in terms of security. And it has like amazing initiatives like ISAC, which is a threat intelligence center that actually uses OpenCTI, which is open source. And it tries to solve the issue of a lot of lone wolves or people that actually do incredible work trying to trace cyber criminals and share information and do data analysis. But until ISAC was created, it was all like on Twitter threads. It was like really, really, really difficult to actually process that amount of information. If you go and see such XBT and TASE tweets before before Isaac, they have a lot of content, to work with, and there are many reasons of why Isaac is important, but
and also I think it's good because sometimes you have incidents, you see response to that incidents. Some companies do not do postmortems. In fact, when we were doing some research, we saw that lots of security incidents don't have official official postmortems. Sometimes because they don't want to give so much transparency, and sometimes because perhaps they don't know what happened. But going back to SEAL, what I think that is interesting is that lots of very useful, or let's say lots of knowledge is shared, for example, in war rooms. War rooms are private. That information is not then published. But you can get some of that information and put it in the threat research database in ISAC. So I think that's very...
Yeah, and I mean, there are also some outputs that are public, like the domains or addresses of criminals that, for example, wallets or snaps can take information out of it and use it to protect users. So I think it's one of my favorite initiatives. And there are a lot more, like the Safe Harbor Agreement, the White Hat Safe Harbor Agreement, which is... Have you already spoke about this
No.
with somebody else on the podcast?
Oh, just a bit, but...
Well, the Safe Harbor Agreement, what it does is like, if you agree to that agreement, you're saying that you authorize legally for anybody that wants to exploit your protocol, like in a good way.
To rescue funds.
Yeah, to rescue funds. Because maybe for people that aren't actually that technical, this would be taken as why would you want someone to exploit your protocol? It's going to destroy the tokenomics out of it. Yeah, probably, but right now it's like really, really easy to detect that an exploit is going to happen or an exploit is happening.
Mostly in DeFi protocols.
Yeah, it's like you're like seconds, and there are people actually front running exploits. Actually, a lot of Maybots do that unintentionally. So what happens is that sometimes you exploit or you see that someone is going to exploit a protocol and you don't do anything because of the repercussion that it may have onto you. So if you think that you can exploit a protocol and you're actually recovering funds, sometimes you can do a hackback, like try to hack again the protocol in order to drain the funds after an exploit was made or an exploit failed. But if you were to have a legal umbrella where to do this without having the fear of getting jailed while trying to do something good, it would be amazing. And that's what the Safe Harbor Agreement is for. And then there's this, what is it called, the Legal Defense Fund? It's another initiative
White Hat Legal Defense Fund?
Yeah, I don't actually recall the exact name, but it's mainly aimed towards situations where you try to do good and someone doesn't value that or think you were ill-intended, and there's this initiative that helps protect people in that sort of situation. Then we have 9/11, where we were talking about. It's a bot where you can report stuff that is happening to you. Mainly are phished right now, but sometimes intents of hacks for protocols or actual hacks happen, and then it's being solved there. They create a war room, and some of us, not specifically me because I'm not active in that initiative, but a war room is created and they try to troubleshoot things. And sometimes when a white hat is actually trying to recover funds and a bounty is being given to them, which is, I think it's great that this stuff is happening. And we have
frameworks.
Yeah, but I think it's public. There are a few more. I can remember right now. No, worms. The drills.
War games.
The war games. The drills. The drills is something amazing as well. So we have the war games, which actually we have some sort of templates, and what we do, I mean, not specifically me again, I'm speaking on behalf of someone that works on SEAL. We try to simulate situations where an attack would happen to a protocol, simulating as much as we can, like maybe like a copy of the protocol on testnet, and help protocols and organizations improve that sort of type situations. Because I don't know, for example, I have a hardware wallet with a Shamir backup, and I gave pieces of Shamir to a lot of friends, and I was like, hey, I haven't done a simulation yet about this, like, and then I simulated that I needed I need to recover that key because I don't know, my hardware wallet was stolen, and I had it was like really interesting to see how all my friends and family behaved, because sometimes they didn't ask for anything. One told me that they have lost it, and I sent to two friends the same Shamir share. And my mother was the best. She asked for a shit ton of things.
Good.
So if someone is trying to have me, don't try with my family, because they are like fully prepared.
Obi-Wan taught you well.
Yeah. So simulations are like something you have to do. It doesn't matter what type of organization you have, or even for your personal details, because it may get you like on a situation that actually, when someone tries to hack you, it's not going to happen on a situation where everything's going to happen smoothly. It's
totally.
It's like, I'm going to Japan. Oh, okay, 45 hours on a plane. That's when you're getting hacked.
We know that at 10 a.m. you have a talk, you will be on stage. That moment. Yeah, totally. You have to prepare for that.
Yeah, and then you mentioned frameworks. Well, frameworks. The story about framework is, it was something that was already being done at SEAL, and it tries to be security guidelines and like basically security guidelines for anyone to follow on different topics. And at the same time, I was doing at the Red Guild something called the Safety Handbook, which was a recollection of things that I was teaching with the rest of the guild at some of these kind of interventions that we did at some pop-up cities or conferences. For example, how to set up your own dev container and how to avoid getting backdoor.
Operational security.
Yeah. Mainly, actually it started as operational security, but it had a lot of categories, because we talked about, I don't know, from Wi-Fi threats or radio frequency threats to password managers.
Nice.
And when I showed this to SEAL, at some point, I don't know why, Mary and Freddie told me that, hey, this is something that we're similarly doing at SEAL, and then we decided to merge them, and now I have been working only on the security frameworks. And it's on a very, very, very early stage. I mean, we're like very far away from an actual release, but the repository is going to become public because we need as much as collaboration as we can have. So that would be amazing. Nowadays, it's a recollection of guidelines in a more abstract way of everything that you have to do in an entire organization, from, I don't know, like an incident response plan to threat modeling to cloud security to a little bit of knowledge about encryption, how to handle your social networks even. An idea would be that people should be able to filter them by profile. For example, if you are a community manager or you are someone that does business development only but travels a lot, so what do you have to take into consideration? And instead of having like this amazing but really long series of guidelines, that it could be like really suffocating or I don't know, like really distracting, you will be able to focus on what's really important for the role you're actually looking at. And then if you're just a community manager, you only have things about socials and how to use 2FA, where not to put your phone, how to store the password, not to share the account with the CEO. The CEO is not going to tweet.
Totally.
I don't know, like a lot of things related to that. So that's what SEAL, in a horrible and very succinct way of explaining it, but we work there as well.
I think it was a very, very good description of what SEAL is doing right now. So, having talked about SEAL and the Red Guild, what's your biggest challenge right now? Perhaps more related to the Red Guild and creating something that is a public good, right?
I think when you talk about an exploit, how much it was stolen from its execution, everybody will understand it. It's like, oh, they were exploited for $1 billion. And it was like, oh, holy shit, that's a shit ton of money. Yeah, you're right, it's a shit ton of money. But if I tell someone that I will protect them, saying I will, which is something possible, I can say to someone, I'm going to protect your protocol and forbid people from stealing all your TVL, which is mainly what you try to do when you do a security audit, of course, but it's implicit. But it's really hard to, when you work on education, because we mainly do education about others. I mean, we mainly do education despite we do a lot of security work, but it's really hard to sell, you know, that in a few years from now, the developers and the communities that we're teaching or training or getting closer to, in order to us to provide our contents, are going to very likely avoid introducing a lot of bugs, or are going to have a more security perspective in mind, and that, as a consequence, is going to make the ecosystem better, because it's really hard to sell. I mean, I don't even believe it myself, but I know it's happening because I don't know, like every day, like at least a week, every week on a live, someone stopped me and said, "Hey, thanks to the Red Guild, I got the job. Thanks to DeFi, I got the job. I have been following you from the Ekoparty. I really like what you do and how you deliver stuff." And that little things make me feel like we're actually on a good track, and like having the support of SEAL and people from SEAL believing in us, it's like what makes us full. But it's really hard to explain people that what we do actually matters and is going to prove a positive impact on the ecosystem, because it's more easier to say to talk about numbers, but how can you measure an intangible, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that there's also something related to the fact that security, privacy, decentralization, most people don't care about it until it's late. So that's why when we started the interview, I said, you were lucky and I was lucky to be hacked when we were very, very young. Because for sure, any protocol, any company, or any person, after having a security incident, they will say, oh no, security is important now. We have to do all this. But before, it's like difficult to make them see that value, right?
Yeah, there was a phrase that was like, if you think security is expensive, try with an incident.
Yeah, I like it.
Another challenge that I see is that we try to look for short-term funding because we need funding like right now. I mean, to extend our runway. Actually, we're being backed by the EF, which we're like really grateful, and some other things that I'm going to go into a minute. But the thing is that for a team that looks for, let's say, short-term funding or funding at the short term, the impact of the things that we do happen in the long term. It's a different way of saying what I was saying at the beginning, but and also, you know, when you sell a product to a customer and the person you're getting money off is the person you're delivering the product, which makes it really easy. Well, here's we give contents aimed at developers and security profiles and communities and communities that are starting to getting developed, and conferences that are starting, and we create our own events. But it's like the ones that get the direct impact of our contents are not the people who we want to get the money from.
Yeah.
So that's a really difficult part, and we are really grateful for the EF and also SEAL for supporting us in several ways, because there's people that also support us by providing their time or doing collaborations with us, not specifically in terms of financial support. And secondly, we have been paid a few bounties. What we do is, like, do you remember this criteria where I was speaking to today? Like, we sort the protocols or organizations or I don't know, whatever product by relevance, depending on the amount of impact that they have on the ecosystem. Yeah. So what we're trying to do nowadays is try to overlap that spot check with the protocol being on a contest or having a bug bounty. And we have been paid a few bounties. And then, I know, sometimes people donate stuff, but it's like, I think the most we got donated in total in sum, it would be like 2K. But we use that money to buy beers and wine and cheese and charcuterie or picada from where I'm from, and stickers. I don't know, like we also do that kind of stuff, or invite people to go climbing and I pay for everything. Well, you have joined our climbing sessions.
Yeah, those were very, very good. I met really, really cool and interesting people. In fact, I made like let's say better or relations during your climbing sessions than perhaps in the conference itself. They were very, very good. Yeah.
And also we have like a retro PGF from Optimism. But yeah, that would be mostly it, like EF, bounties, and some sort of grants like the retro PGF. We actually got one, but we when we got the op was worth a certain amount, and now it's worth a lot of less more. So we are not touching it until, I don't know, we actually need to use it.
Good. You talked about education, right? Mm-hmm. The role of education in cybersecurity. So, which one do you think that has the greatest impact on reducing incidents? Like educating users about security, or building more secure systems or systems which have a user experience that make them more easily to use in a secure way? Let's say, where do you think that there should be a focus?
I want to say both, because as Tincho would say, doing an analogy, you don't want just educated drivers or safer roads.
Okay.
You want to have both at the same time, because one without the other, it would be pure chaos anyways. So I'm going to say both in this case.
So it's not enough to have secure products. So you think that everyone should have a bit of cybersecurity knowledge? Everyone, right?
I think that
In this world.
that there's a bigger problem that is that there's a huge gap between the people who actually know about technology and the people who don't know about technology, and the speed of the development of technology has surpassed the capacity of some people to cope with it, and if the gap in technology itself is like really, really, really wide, then imagine in security.
Yeah.
Like like many years ago, we didn't have phones. Like a computer was, I think, the size of this room, and nowadays we have a lot of processing power within us, like not within us, like on our pocket.
We have now more and more. I always joke that we have so many things now with the firmware, right?
Yeah.
Your headphones have firmware. Some
firmware.
freezers have firmware. This has firmware. My watch has, oh, not this one, but watches have firmware. Like,
yeah. So I'm thinking that there are a lot of roles or jobs that it's gonna be really, really hard to guess in the future. But I'm thinking about, instead of, probably I'm going to say something that's really nonsense, but do you know how people have an accountant or a lawyer for themselves? I'm thinking about security specialists for individuals. Like,
I like that.
Like, no, I have my security specialist. I don't know. I have my...
Your doctor,
security.
Your lawyer, your accountant, and your security specialist.
Yeah, because...
I like that.
Yeah, but it's... I mean, it's going to be... I think it's imminent that something like that happens, or that people start working towards that way, because there's a need to fill that gap. But also there's people that don't actually need an accountant and can learn everything by themselves. There's people that don't actually need a lawyer because they don't do many things that can influence in difficult situations regarding the law, or just do it like a consultant, or just use like a specific interaction with this type of professionals instead of having one for themselves. But I think that something like that is going to happen, because the gap is like really, 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 really big.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's talk a bit about OSINT, right? For the people who don't know, like very briefly, what's OSINT, and what information did you find that you didn't expect to be openly available and that really surprised you?
Well, OSINT it stands for Open Source Intelligent Techniques, I think. And I think what I was actually surprised to find is, like, every time we get a leak from our local government or migrations.
Yeah, migrations.
Yeah. That's the things I'm most surprised of finding there. I don't know if it's inside OSINT, but it's one of those things that you are not expecting to find on the internet, like would be analog to our social security number.
Yeah, because it's not public information, but it's published information. It's out there.
Yeah. I don't work myself a lot with the OSINT techniques or tools, but I'd say that the two tools that I have always stick with me since I have found them is Google Docs. Do you know Google Docs?
No, Google Docs.
Yeah.
Nice.
DORK. Actually, it's when you use like a series of tags to filter Google searches.
Okay, perfect.
And you put like, for example, in URL.
File type.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
File type and in title, like in title or in URL index of. And you get like a lot of websites that are using directory listing and don't have like an edged access properly configured or I don't know, like a.
Yeah, you can find things that you can. In fact, some weeks ago, doing some research, I found lots of people's 1Password PDF backup in Google directly. Like you say,
I used to spend a lot of time doing like different type of searches when I was a kid, and then Shodan. Yeah, I like my premium membership of Shodan, which is amazing. Nowadays, I think you have an extension.
So what is Shodan for the people who don't know? What can you search from there?
I'm going to explain it wrong because I haven't been actually using Shodan except for a command line, but it's like kind of like an aggregator of information about all the monitoring that has been done on IPs and websites and all the ports and banners that they are all serving on each service. So you can find like right now, if you go to Shodan, you can find like a lot of webcams and
IoT,
IP cameras, and probably a lot of telnet open to the world with right access telnets and SSHs. It's like really, really crazy. And sometimes if you have to do a pen test or something to a specific set of IP addresses within a range, you can query Shodan really fast and have like I don't know if they still have like the track record or the chronology or history of the things that have been happening on certain IP addresses, but it's really useful for curious people and for working as well.
So you talked about government leaks like the social security numbers or the national database of IDs here in Argentina.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about the state of cybersecurity in Latin America or in Argentina. Why do you think that governments do not prioritize security even after experiencing incidents? Or you think that they try, but they are not able to solve the issue? Or it's that they try, but they are like a target, so eventually they will always be broken? What do you think?
It's a tough topic because I think it's like a congregation of things. It's not just one thing. I think that we see the impact on the security perspective or from the security perspective, but it's just a reflex or an indicator of something else. Like I think it's mainly because of like the current state of government rather than just security. Like what I call, actually I have like an insult for organizations when I think they're dead. Like they have been institutionalized. Like,
okay.
Because here institutions, at least for me, it's like when you have to do a queue to get a paper, and then you have to get it signed like in front of the street or inside within the same building, and you have to wait again and go back. It's like, I don't know, like a lot of legacy dynamics or bureaucratic processes that actually don't really make sense and take the life out of newcomers that want to work and have a lot of ideas. That's what I say that happens to a company when it's dying, or it has been institutionalized. When you have a lot of good ideas and then that are evident that they fix problems and you can get them high enough in order to be incorporated, and everybody has lost hope, so nobody cares.
Okay.
There are actually companies that help other companies to improve their processes and, I don't know, digitalize everything, specifically for places like Argentina. But I think one of the reasons is institutionalization. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Public tenders.
Okay.
Which are always a scam. Not always, but sometimes they are a scam. Like there's like at least in countries there is a lot of corruption. There are a lot of arrangements behind the curtains that happen. Okay, if you elect us on the public tender and justify us, we are going to do this and that. Well, of course, corruption. Then I'd say politic influence deals.
Yeah.
And then sometimes because of, I know this is like the egg and the chicken. I know where it started, but you start with low budget and you have to prioritize, and sometimes your priorities don't benefit the part of the technology where you store the data, and then you have this all this stuff that's actually going on. So I think it, as a summary, it's only an indicator of something else, not specifically that they suck on security. They suck on almost everything. If you were to do like a financial audit inside of these governments, you will find a shit ton of things that are more worrisome than just a security leak.
Yeah. And I think that there's also, I think that they are never held like accountable, right? No politician has ever gone to prison because of leaking citizenship data. So why should they care, right?
Yeah. There was a study on the Ekoparty that I think Nitros made it. It's not about governments, but it's more about how it reflects how we behave as a culture. That almost every company that was struck by some exploit or an incident or had like a data leak recovered in the stock market after a few months. It's like we I don't know, like we fake dementia and we move on.
Yeah, totally. You make, given your past in Web2 security, you make a lot of focus in operational security, as we talked, right? And we are seeing lots of Web2 attacks in Web3. What can you say about that? And do you think that the industry is starting to put attention there? Like, as we were talking last week in Ethereum Uruguay, like 80% of funds are not being lost due to smart contracts being hacked, but because of private keys being compromised, Telegram, Twitter, Discord accounts being compromised, DNS hijacking. So do you think that because we are getting far better at smart contracts and now there should be a prioritization at operational security, or it's because we have threat actors that are coming from Web2, let's say, Lazarus, for example, whatever, and they say, okay, hey, here we have tons of money, we have lots of people to scam, let's do it.
I think I think it's a combination of both. There are a lot of resources that are pretty much secured by default in terms of smart contracts, unless you want to do like something really complex and you don't have resources to audit it properly. But right now, if you go and see some protocols, you'll see that they have been audited by 5 different companies. They have a bug bounty. They have been participating in contests, and sometimes they are also getting exploited. But the exploits are like really hard to follow or to understand, or really hard to miss if you're auditing, because it's like you're competing with people that have all the time of their life, and you're just an auditor getting paid to see the code for a month, versus, I don't know, like Lazarus Group or like the DPKR or any other state actor that actually has a lot of time and thinking, I don't know, but they don't have like a scope. You could start and then whenever you want. And I also think that Web2, like the impact of Web2 stuff are like the new low-hanging fruits on the space. I actually left Intro more in the, and the others more in the smart contract realm, and I pivoted to be more directed toward Web2 stuff, security stuff.
Where you can make the greatest impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I actually want to be there. I'm going to be where the ecosystem needs us to be, because, as you said, like in the last research that I did, that we gave us a talk in Uruguay, and according to blog thread from the analysis that Peter has made, and well, Compartech and Rect Database and Rect News, there was an increase at least on twice the attacks that were mainly directed at key compromises. And key compromises, it's as you can see, it's not something that happens on chain. It's not like a logic error or an exploit of a smart contract. It's something that happens outside. You have been phished, you have been social engineered, something compromised your server or your validators or whatever that made you sign a fake transaction or display your maybe sign in an infinite approve or permit to or just give away your private key. And it's one of the main reasons, actually it's like the top one reason of the more amounts of money being stolen. So nowadays my focus is more directed toward operational security for individuals and for organizations. That's one of the main reasons we have been working together and doing talks, because it's where we connect, and also because of the amount of fake interviews and fake repositories, there are a lot of fake companies that seem to be actual real companies, and people that are being tricked into working as human resources that actually don't know they're working for a fake company. They're actually getting paid for recruiting people with resources as for example, a technical challenge, and don't know that they're helping state actors or cyber criminal trick decent people, specifically blockchain developers nowadays, into downloading some malware while running tests. And that's why we created a series of articles on dev containers and teach people about the importance of isolation. And because we were on the interventions that we did on some organizations, on some conferences, we backdoor a lot of people.
Nice.
Nice. It's for fun. in different ways, like having Foundry tests being automated by default, or running Git commands that made you trigger another type of action that you don't want, but not in an evil way. Just we download a PDF with our card, which is curiosity, that says curiosity kill a cat, or just a pawn, something more anecdotal than actually an actual pawn. I mean, when we don't do evil stuff, and it's all public, so you can check what we actually did. But we were really surprised on our workshops that we were teaching people how to break smart contracts. They will just execute everything we told them on their host machine. I was like completely baffled in a very bad way. I was annoyed at the same time. I was like, no, what the fuck? What are you doing? So I had to change the contents a few times in order to, what we're going to do first is you're going to fucking learn how to use a dev container, because I can't allow this happening anymore. And that was one of the main indicators that we should start working more towards Web 2. Not only Web3. I actually hate the difference. You already know that. I hate the difference. I just talk about technologies, a different set or stack of technologies, and I see blockchain as a fantastic set of technologies, or technology itself more like a network rather than a simple technology with a lot of things in it. But I think that the differentiation sometimes makes more harm than it does good. You see someone saying security research, and some of them have never audited web app or don't know the basic about DNS. And I mean, there are a lot of security profiles, but it's like there's a lot that is given when you say you work in security, or you are actually a security researcher, or you have a security background. And many of the people that I have met the past years in security don't know the basics of Wi-Fi, DNS, like internet protocols, only how to read Solidity and break smart contracts. Not, of course, people from SEAL. I mean people from that I met on conferences. I went to our workshops. I mean, you work in security and you're not using a container. It's like, what the fuck? What do you run everything on your host machine? Well, I don't know. We can talk about that for years.
Regarding operational security, what would be your most important tips and recommendations for a secure setup for wallets?
Oh shit!
Like, perhaps not going so deep, right? But for the different profiles of people that you have in crypto.
Well, if you know shit about crypto, I would say you use like a centralized exchange. Many people will hate that I'm saying that, but I don't care. And I'm not a fan of decentralization. I'm not a fan of anything. I just try to use things depending on the threat model and depending on the use case. So if my mother wants to use crypto, I would just tell her to use a centralized exchange. For people that are more technical, I'd say that they should use a combination of many things depending on the amount of money they are going to save. Like that would be on the lower extreme. On the other extreme, I would say you should use at least a multi-sig, and maybe a multi-sig with different signatures that you have on your own, like different hardware wallets or different. Yeah, they are like
different devices.
Yeah, not only devices. You have these metal sheets where you can that are fire resistant, etc., and you can put them on different banks. You can share them to friends whom you trust, and there are also anti-tampering bags that you can buy on different sizes, and you can put like passphrases in it, and you know that if it has been broken, you know that you should just replace that, and then you just put the threshold on the multi-sig.
Do they sell those here in Argentina?
You can buy them at Amazon, for example. And then I I tried to use a mechanism that uses social recovery of some sort. Maybe you can use some like account abstraction implementation.
Shamir.
Yeah, Shamir is complicated. I don't want to delve into the details. But I say you give a few. The thing is that I'm going to explain because I had this experience and I already talked about it. But if you use a multisig and you have one signer, and one signer is the combination of a lot of shares that you give to some friends, if something happens to some of the shares and you don't get to the threshold, you lose the entire signer. And I think it's better to have more signers than just one signer divided into friends, or you can do both, but with a lower threshold, because it was a pain in the ass to do that. And the importance of saving that shares, it's like similar to sharing like a signer, and maybe you could just go higher on the threshold, but it depends on how you want to store the things. I actually do. I don't have many things installed on my computer, and I use a virtual machine, and I use containers inside the virtual machine, and I have the. Of course, I use password managers. I use everything encrypted, full disk encryption. You can even, if you have seen me give a talk or a workshop and I have to plug my computer, I always have to spend a little bit of time because I have to unlock all the ports in order to transmit data. But that's just more a paranoid thing, but not directly connected to crypto. It's just I don't know, being at the Ekoparty or events like that, you have to really protect yourself. But in terms of wallets, I'd say depending on how much money do you want to store, and always not put all the eggs inside one basket, right? But I think we're getting to a point where social recovery, or I know that Safe added like a feature where if you die, everything gets transferred to another person. I haven't tried that by myself. I know that GitHub has that. I already have someone to inherit my stuff. But I say that, and you can do that incrementally. And the thing is that if you get one of those keys, one of those signers leaked or stolen, you can just replace it like really easily, or at least it would take you a few days in order to do that. But if you have like things on different parts of the world, on banks of friends, or I don't know, what are you going to do? I just say you prioritize your health, your mental health, rather than just making things really complicated without any reason.
Yeah, because with Shamir, if you lose one of the parts, let's say,
it depends
you have to replace all of them, right? No. It used to be like that?
I don't know. The Shamir that I know, the thing is that every share has...
Yeah, you cannot replace that share so easily. That's the thing.
No. If you lose a share, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. But it depends on the threshold. If you have like 10 shares and the threshold is on 3, okay, you can lose up to, I don't know, maybe 6 until it starts to get shady. But the thing that people don't like about Shamir is that each key has a lot of information of the actual key. And I don't know what could happen in the future with more processing or information. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Changing the subject, what do you think about the recent lawsuit from Kraken against Certik? That was kind of funny, sad, surprising. Like, what did you think when you saw that? And to give some context for the people who perhaps, I think that for sure everyone seeing this remembers what happens, but 1 month ago.
It was really...
No, 2 months ago.
It was really interesting to me because I was reading Twitter as I usually do because I'm addicted to it. Not going to say X yet, but I still say Twitter. And
we are never gonna call it X. No, Elon.
I actually like that it's been shortened when I don't want to only put the handle, but it says X, but I say Twitter.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I was browsing through Twitter, and I think it was the CEO or CTO of Kraken. I forgot the name of this folk, saying, I don't know, I'm not going to say what company, but a very well-known company, and it started a thread. I was like eating popcorn while watching the thread, and I was like, holy shit, that if this is true, this has to be like a really complicated situation. And at the same time, I see Kraken posting Certik posting something similar, and I was like, oh shit.
Here it comes.
I mean, I can't actually recall all the details because I have a fish memory, or memory of a fish.
I think that they were able to make deposits into Kraken and to revert them or something like that.
But yeah, you know when you deposit on a CEX, that in order for the money or the asset to appear or to be able to move withdraw it or whatever, you have to spend, I don't know, like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And as I understood, they were able to deposit stuff and kind of revert it, but like the threshold or the time window where you could actually use it, made them use it before it was actually like finalized.
Yeah.
But the thing that was like really complicated for me or for them was justifying the amount of the test transactions and where they have been sent to. Like it's really hard to defend that posture, like sending a lot of transactions with really high amount of numbers and or assets, and then as far as I can remember, they were sent to Tron as well. Tornado Cash.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unjustifiable to behave that way and without giving proper like explaining everything. And I was really surprised because Certik started defending this posture publicly. The only explanation that I found was, okay, the same person that exploited this is handling the Twitter, because it didn't make sense for me at the time. But I'm really glad that the situation got solved and they got to an arrangement, because
I didn't see the end.
No, I think they got to an arrangement. Okay. I don't know if there was like some legal prosecution, and I was surprised because the exploit was something good. Like it was like a good finding. I'm really sad that it ended. It started that way. Way more. Well, thankfully, maybe for frameworks or something like that, we will have more responsible disclosure templates to be followed and to avoid this kind of stuff, because sometimes what happens is that you get confused if someone is doing. It's really hard to tell by the behavior if someone is doing this ill-intended or well-intended. But by default, I distrust or I don't trust someone that is not, at least at the same time, contacting the people that are getting exploited, saying, I'm doing this, and this is, I'm going to return everything, or because sometimes many of the black hats turn into white hats because they have been detected or they have been pressured a lot by legal parties, and then they say no, I was going to return anything. So sometimes I think I hate the term white hat and gray hat and black hat. I mean, if you are doing an exploit to a protocol and you didn't let the protocol know beforehand or immediately after you exploited it, for me, in terms, you're a black hat because and you're just trying to decide where or what to do, where to report it or not until you see what happens. But you everything is visible. So if you don't let the protocol know, people will know. Someone will know. Someone with like blog friends or anybody is going to let everybody know. Even Certik alerts, and it's going to cause a lot of chaos. So letting people know in order to understand how to communicate or maybe to create a war room within SEAL. That's the way to go. I know sometimes you have just very few seconds to decide. But that's what I'm saying. At least at the same time, you are awake if you're not just from running exploits while you're sleeping. But yeah, that was a really hard take from Certik on what you could see from the outside that would happen with Kraken. I know they are very good on formal verification, and they had become kind of a meme. And unfortunately for any company, that your company starts to be taken as a meme, I don't know. It's like I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But this didn't help.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I hope that they in the future get to do things differently.
Yeah. Now, let's go back a bit. We talked about security environment, development environments, right? For devs. So, do you think that there's a lack of Web3 tooling for security researchers?
Definitely.
To facilitate the research work?
Yeah. I mean, if we compare ourselves to our ecosystems, it would be like completely insane to debug a code without an actual proper debugger. So a debugger is the first thing I would say. I think we're reaching a point where debuggers are starting to be useful, and but not being able to trace things properly to understand where they are failing and how to put a fucking breakpoint and say, okay, what happens if I do this? It's like if you were trying to break a protocol, I have to create the entire flow of transactions. Maybe not today's, maybe not for all the use cases at this moment, but the amount of improvements and things that you can create based on such core technologies, it's amazing, and we haven't had that for a very long time. Actually, there wasn't something to. For example, if you're deploying something really complex and something happens between the deployment or in the middle of the deployment, how to recover? Actually, we didn't have anything to circumvent that situation until Hard had created Ignition, for example, and using Forge as with a lot of verbose, it's not gonna cut it while you're trying to debug stuff. But there have been a lot of improvements, like Medusa, Halmos. I like Halmos because Halmos doesn't actually influence a lot or condition the way that you work, because you can use your setup in Foundry with Halmos installed locally, and you don't have to modify the entire dynamic of how you work. I'm missing more tools. I don't know if I have written them down, but there are something that I would really like to use. It will be like something like Burp, right? That would be amazing. That would be amazing. For free, of course, something for free, but it will help us a lot to debug transactions. I mean, there are very good things like Tenderly, FalconSec, Metasleuth, but they aren't as interactive as something like Sub Proxy or Burp. That would be like amazing to create something like that. And if somebody listening is going to create this, please make it open source. Thank you.
Please.
Please.
Nice. Well, last topic I want to talk about offensive security and red teams. We talked a bit about this.
Yeah, at the beginning.
But why do you think that it's important to train in offensive security, right? And where do you think that you have the best resources for this?
I think this is a captious question, because I not only think that red teaming or offensive security training is important, I think that the overall of security is important. I remember this folk at a security conference at the Ekoparty like 7 or 8 years ago, and he told me why there's always content about offensive and not about defensive. And the answer was like, for people at the beginning, offensive was more fun and it's more easy trying to break, because you know what you have to break, in comparison to defending, which is you don't have a scope to defend. You have like a shit ton of ways or context trying to defend. So I think it is important, but depending to whom. And I'm not saying that you should train everybody to know about offensive security, but at least a glimpse of it, trying to elicitate something on their way of thinking, for especially if they're trying to create defensive tools. If you're trying to create defensive tools, I think you have to have an offensive security in mind, because it's like you are like fighting within your head with, okay, so anybody can break this like that, or if I do this, maybe they can circumvent it like this. So in that sort of sense, it's really important. But something that happened in the past years was like, at first we were just doing pen testing or security reviews. Then red teams and blue teams dynamics started to emerge, and nowadays they realize that if they don't work like co-jointly, or work like really side by side, or work as a team. But what happened was like red team versus blue team was like like really separated. Like, okay, so we try to do this and we try to do this, and that's that, and like working really together, not in a adversarial position, was really lacking a lot of more a holistic approach. Then the purple team was suggested of teams that should do both. And I think it's what I'm saying, like, if you want to defend, you have to have an offensive security in mind, because I think it will make you a great it would make a great asset for you to have. It's not like mandatory, but of course, as with more context on what you have to defend, or what attacks you might expect, you're going to make a great role trying to defend. So I'd say it's not only important, it's important in different situations, and I'd say that organizations should take a more purple team approach if you're talking about colors. And I also like purple more than red or blue.
Nice. And now regarding you talked about damn vulnerable DeFi when we started. I don't remember if you talked about the new release.
Yeah, so
what's about the new release? It's like new challenges. Is it updated?
Yeah, it's a you know what happens in the industry is sometimes someone creates content, and then it's really hard to maintain, or they don't actually maintain it. Well, we did, and we did hear what people were saying. The first demo or DeFi was made under hard hat, and the people that work on security or insecurity, we're more inclined toward using Foundry because you just have Solidity in it, and they don't deploy things. They just want, and also using Rust tools and things like Halmos that are on top of Foundry that you that doesn't modify how you work with it. Made us port it into Foundry. So the challenges have been remade. Some of them had to be changed because there are some things that don't work anymore, like self-destruct. And in this initiative of trying to shift the mindset of people from attackers to defenders. Instead of stealing funds, you recover funds. So you're a white hat trying to recover funds and trying to do so before an attacker comes. Actually, it's just anecdotal. The attacker comes because it's not an adversarial perspective or framework. There are new challenges. It's made all in Foundry, and it has a new landing page with a few quotes from people that have been using it. And we would like feedback. And also people, I don't know, if they want a challenge that things is missing, you can tell us, and we'll try to do it. And also we are open to receive more ideas to creating more educational platforms, because we are also really aiming that way. We want to continue doing cool stuff like that and help people educate them or themselves by doing more fun stuff and maybe more platforms alike, not just single challenges. So we released the version 4 like a month ago or a few weeks ago. So if you're reading this, if you're listening to this or watching this, go and check it out.
Very, very good. Very interesting. So, well, we have talked about lots of stuff.
Yeah, I think people are going to get bored.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish today? Where can people reach you? Like theredguild.org? Yeah,
theredguild.org, and well, we have our socials there, but the Red Guild at Twitter, and watch the Red Guild. It's our YouTube channel. We used to.
And you have a very good newsletter too that you can subscribe at the.
Yeah, if you want to follow up what we're doing, some people find it interesting. It's hard to believe that people find interesting our like. Our status updates of the guild, like
they do. No, but it's like how many? It's like
one per month.
One per month. Yeah.
Yeah. This one that's coming is like really loaded because we've been doing a lot of stuff. And my Twitter is Matt with double T Aereal Aereal.
Nice.
But you can just put it on the caption. Don't spell it.
We'll have all the links in the show notes.
And see you at DevCon. If you're going to DevCon, see you at DevCon or DeFi Security Summer. We'll be there doing stuff, doing workshops, doing talks. Go say hi, propose something if you feel like we're missing something. We're open to suggestions, as I said. So reach out.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks Matt for being here for this time. Thanks everyone who's listening. This has been the episode 16 of the Blockchain Security series with Matt Aereal, co-founder at the Red Guild. So thanks everyone, and well, see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blockchain Security Series, the podcast where the future of Web3 security unfolds. Presented by pablito.eth.